Hi, goedenavond. Welkom bij Digital Wednesday. Mijn naam is Ewart Wolf. Erg fijn dat jullie er allemaal zijn. Kijk even om je heen en constateer twee dingen. 1, blijkbaar is het warm. Of is het warm geweest. En 2, hoe bijzonder is het als je marketing en communicatie mensen bij elkaar stopt en je denkt van, wat willen we nou eigenlijk gaan vertellen op deze bijzondere juniavond? We willen gaan vertellen dat het vanavond niet gaat over programmeren. Wat heeft iedereen gedacht, behalve jullie natuurlijk, die onze e-mails kreeg en onze social media posts zag? Oh shit, dit gaat over programmeren. Dit moeten we niet hebben, hier moeten we niet bij zijn. Dus onwijs gaaf dat jullie er zijn. Het is een iets minder grote groep dan we normaal gewend zijn, maar ik ben onwijs trots en blij dat jullie er zijn. Dit is typisch een onderwerp wat een beetje meer edgy is dan normaal. Dit is niet mainstream, om nog meer Engelse woorden te gebruiken dan ik al normaal doe. Low-code, no-code. Als je het aan mij vraagt, het is typisch een onderwerp dat de komende 2-3 jaar kom je in één keer op een groot congres tegen van het gaat over low-code, no-code. Dus weet op dat moment, voor het eerst heb je het gehoord hier bij Digital Wednesday. Oké, genoeg voor deze introductie. Fijn dat jullie er zijn. Kom gerust verder. Onze eerste spreker gaat vertellen over low-code, no-code. En dat is een marketing-communicatiemanager van Valid, een IT-bedrijf. Dat is Olivier Giraud. En hij gaat eigenlijk een beetje vertellen van, oké, waar hebben we het nou eigenlijk over? Wat is dit precies? Waar komt dit vandaan? En hoe moet ik het precies zien? Dus als hij klaar is met zijn microfoon. Ja? Olivier?
Ja.
Olivier Giraud, jongens.
Dankjewel. And I'm going to do this in English because I was asked to do it in English. So if you wonder where my accent might come from, it's the country of Olivier Giraud. Maybe if we change my name to Olivier Giraud, maybe more people would have come actually this week of the World Cup. Anyway, I'm French. I was born and raised in the Paris area, and so, like I said, maybe sometimes I sound a little bit like Inspector Clouseau. And hopefully that's not too distracting. I'm going to start my story by bringing you back to my childhood, actually, in France. And that was my first programming experience in the time when we had a couple of TV channels. I don't know if you remember that here in the Netherlands. We had these machines. And my mother hated machines. She still does hate machines. And she wanted to tape from time to time a program. Tomorrow, 8:30, I'm not home, I want to record a program on Channel 2. She couldn't figure out how to program the machine, and she asked me to do that, because I'm a kid, so I'm interested in machines, and I could do that. So I realized when I was preparing this talk that it was actually my first programming experience. And if you think about it, this is what we're going to talk about, how to simply tell a machine what to do. And then came my interest for computers and my interest for machines. In the second phase, when I was at high school, I got this in my hand. Actually, it was a bit like a smartphone today, a bit bigger than that, a bit bulkier, far less power. I don't know if one of you had a pocket computer, the first PC. I had a pocket computer magazine, PC magazine, before the PC was on the market. And that was my first experience to actually program in a language called BASIC. And don't know if everyone has done BASIC before in their life, a number of you. So you all understand what's going to be on the screen now. And it was the time when I realized that what I was doing was typing words that were interpreted by the machine into a code that the processor understood and was presenting something back on the screen. And that's really what code is about. You enter instructions. Sometimes some of you might also have done machine language, the assembler code. That wasn't my cup of tea. I stuck to BASIC for some time. But it was really when I understood that what these machines were doing. And of course, we had the PC in the 80s. It was something like this, what I had on my desktop when I was a student. And you might also remember this kind of programs before Windows came on the market. We had DOS. We'd even do some games on this floppy disks. But it also my first encounter with the relationship between code, software, and the business world. So I evolved after my study. I went to the Netherlands. I graduated here in Rotterdam School of Management. And I got a job in marketing, and that was the machine I got in the 1990s with Windows. And with Windows came Office, the first Office suite. It was it is that old. But also my first experience with a real business process supporting tool, which was a CRM package. I was asked to choose a package that we would use between the sales team and the marketing team to track our leads. And then I realized, okay, so it's not something like a package that I get in my hand like PowerPoint or like Word. I can use functions. That's easy. I save a program. I type some text. I make a presentation. That's something. It was a bit more difficult because then I had to configure, to think about what you want to use. Before I choose Maximizer, which was my first encounter with CRM, I had to do a list of requirements. And then I had to match the package with the requirements. So that was a bit more advanced, but it was not coding, it was configuring, right? A lot of us have experience with that still today. So if we fast forward to where am I today and where we are today with my team at Valid, this is what we do, just for your information, so that you can place where I come from, an IT company like the other one, not the IT company. We do a lot of Microsoft-based stuff. Among other things, we do application development. My colleagues speak a language called C#, .NET C#. It's a framework. Don't ask me about it, but that's what they understand. So I understand basic, they understand this language. And what we do as a marketing team is we do as much as we can without IT support. Because we're an IT company, and IT people, they earn money for the company, they don't spend money with us. So we try to be as self-sufficient as we can. So we have a lot of stuff we use. We have a CMS, use Google Analytics, we do marketing automation, reporting, Adobe for making things nice, etc. And we have a exact CRM package, so that was the kind of thing that we use as a CRM package, sort of. Don't recommend it if you want to do CRM. Radiate in LinkedIn to do account-based marketing. And none of this, almost none of this was done with IT support. So what we've seen in a few years is this landscape. I don't know if everyone has seen that, the tech marketing tech landscape. The top 5,000 packages in the world, actually 7,000 something nowadays. That you can choose from to automate or to support your marketing processes. Lots of categories, lots of logos, lots of, to choose from. So what happened between the Maximizer time, 1990s and today, like I showed on my smartphone, of course, this has happened. Not only the smartphone has come on the market, but Moore's Law has come into action, and with Moore's Law, you have a lot of processing power available. Even further, what we have today, of course, as you know, is the cloud, which means that Moore's Law is available through cheap connectivity, and you have access to a lot of cloud providers which provide you ubiquitous computing. Anywhere in the world you can get programming power. That brings me to that man. Anyone knows who he is? Mark Andreessen? Why is he well known? Why is he famous and rich? Invented the browser, the Mosaic browser, which became Netscape. He created it, or he created the first graphical user interface to browse the web, and he's become very rich with that. And what he said in 2011, so some time ago already, is that software is eating the world. So what he means by that is that a lot of normal businesses are becoming software companies. And he expects that a lot of industries will be disrupted, another fancy word, by the world of software. 2011, of course, when you look today, the largest companies, in terms at least of value on the stock exchange, are Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Apple, to name a few. So in a way, software is eating the business world. And I couldn't think of a better example of than software eating the world than the automotive industry to illustrate his story. Because when you look at a car like this, of course, what you see is an iPad. And you know that a lot of software is involved in this. And if you're not careful, you even have an issue with your software being updated while you drive. And we also know that, of course, it's not always good news that software is eating the world. Not so good news also is that if you look at the top jobs being sought in the Netherlands, at least, the top 5, software developers are very much in demand. There is a link between software eating the world. A lot of companies want to do digital transformation, another fancy word, and there is a lot of software developers being sought. A lot of salespeople also, by the way. In the top 20 jobs being sought in the Netherlands, you won't find a marketing job, by the way, but you'll find a few sales functions. So you can choose if you want to be in demand. You can do software development or do sales. But that's something else. So what we're saying is that we have a phenomenon happening. A lot of software is available. However, companies want to differentiate themselves with software. So the question is, do you use packages like the ones we use? Is that going to help us differentiate, or do we want to use something customized? But if we want something customized, we know developers are a scarce resource. So we kind of feel a tension that as companies want to differentiate themselves with software, they will have a hard time making things. It most probably have to choose buying. So a number of companies have seen that as an opportunity to develop coding tools, which are low code and no code, and they're jumping on the bandwagon of the convergence of ubiquitous computing, of the wave of digital transformation and as a service models, and that has led to what we also call the citizen developer. And the citizen developer movement is led to a growth of the birth of a number of companies, some of which are here, some of which I forgot to mention. Edgar will mention a few more. We are a Microsoft house, as I said, so what we do is we understand this one, the rest we don't really know. And again, Edgar will explain what the landscape looks like, really. But you see a lot of companies are creating a lot of tools, and I want to plug in something from our marketing team. If you want to have a demo, which we'll do today, of Power Platform, so the Power Apps and Flow and Power BI together, you can look up our website. We had a webinar yesterday, which we recorded, so you can look it up and see what someone who's not a programmer can do still with a low-code platform. The promise of these companies, Appian, Mendix, Betty Blocks, the last two are very Dutch, or sort of. Mendix has been taken over by a German company, Siemens. Betty Blocks is based in Alkmaar, so very Dutch indeed. What their promises are with us, if you work with me, Betty Blocks, Mendix, OutSystems, etc., you can create code very easily. It's fast, it's easy, you have a great experience, user interface. You can integrate with tools. We have standard APIs. It's easy to maintain, and you're not locked in our technology. That's the promise of all these tools. So you wonder now, that's nice, but what's in it for me? And if I look at these tools and I look at what we do, I wonder, okay, is there something in that best of suite world that we work in with all these tools, which, by the way, have Chinese interfaces? We do a lot of retyping across those tools, so there's no integration. Maybe we can use, that's a question for Edgar, maybe he can answer. Can we use low code, no code? We don't want to be dependent on IT to integrate those tools. Or should I use those tools? Could I use those tools to look at how we create another or more point solutions? And when we prepared this evening, we talked about the options, and we decided to look at an example, and Tessia will show what he did to support an event. So we used this group of people as an example of, okay, what if I were here as a participant and I could use an app, what would I want to do with an app? Or if I were the Digital Wednesday organization, how could I help you guys to network better? And we'll go back into that case as a standalone app that we've tried to develop with the low-code tool. So when I say no code, and I talk to my colleagues who do C#, they look something like this. And you see that there is it's a bit like the example of a colleague of mine who had purchased a kitchen, and he had a specialist, a klusjesman, a bouwer, a handyman, thank you. He had a handyman to install his kitchen. And you can imagine the guy comes in with all these tools and his belt and his boxes of instruments, and he comes into the apartment and sees the kitchen, it's IKEA. What, you come to install an IKEA kitchen? So he had to install the kitchen with his little, the wrenches and stuff. So he was not happy, and that was the image I had, the analogy I had with this handyman coming in, trying to install the kitchen in a professional way, and me asking my colleagues, help me do some no code, and that was a bit the reaction that we get, because the developers in my company at Valid, they are really trade people. They don't want to do things an easy click way. They want to understand what you want, and then they can build something from scratch. That's what they like to do. So that's another question I have for Edgar. What do we do with that? What kind of people are interested in low-code, no-code? Frankly, I've tried to do something with Power Apps. I've tried to do something with Mendix. I followed some training. And after a couple of hours, I was so bored that I stopped. So I'm not the ideal candidate to do something with low-code, apparently. But I'm happy to be convinced otherwise. So Edgar and Thijs here, please help me. So what's next? The question is, in this world of many apps, in this world of too many apps, maybe, and in this world of many tools, software tools, we have a plethora of low-code and no-code options. I'm not sure what to do. I have a feeling that we have a disconnect in our IT landscape. As a marketeer, I feel that we need more tools, more automation, I should say, not so more tools, I'm sorry. And I'm not sure which route to follow. So that's where I want to end my presentation. I'm plenty of time ahead, so we have time for questions if you have any. But in the meantime, I want to invite you to go to your Android store or your App Store on Apple, if you're an iPhone or Android, and then download this app, because you're going to need that later this evening to see what Tessio is going to show us.
Okay, so what you're saying is everybody download UXPin.
Yeah.
And let's hope that KPN is not going to go down in the meantime. So thank you very much, Olivier.
You're welcome.
Are there questions for Olivier? While you're downloading.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the catch box
Yes,
here.
thank you. There's one over there.
Where's the question?
Is it UXPin Mirror?
Yes, UXPin Mirror. Thank you.
UXPin Mirror. One question here.
Do you think they have to teach this more at schools? Because I'm just finished my school as a communication advisor, but I have never had a tool to use.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, I've tried to do some software development using those tools, and I realized, Jesus Christ, I have no idea what I'm doing here. And I think there are some basics that you need to understand, which I don't master, apparently. And the basics are not so much the tool, but the thinking about how to develop a software product. And I agree, it would be very helpful if we did not so much software development in terms of programming, but to understand how programs work. That would be very helpful. Yeah.
I did a special course, I did a special course called Digital Marketing, and I learned how to use Google Analytics, and I'm very happy to know, and I used it in other projects, but they didn't teach it at the basic course.
But exactly. So if you're very like I used to be able to a long time ago to do some basic, I wouldn't know how to apply what I learned on the empirically to do basic. I wouldn't know how to use that in a low-code environment because there are two different worlds. So I really think we need some basics to get started. Yes.
Yeah, this is really new. It doesn't sound that way, it doesn't feel that way perhaps, but this is really new. So if this takes off, it will take at least 3 years before you go to the hogeschool or university and they teach you this, unfortunately.
I love the digital marketing, online marketeer, but they don't accept me yet.
Okay, let's see. Other questions? Please ask a question so I can throw this thing at you. Please.
Otherwise, we can also talk after the.
Yes,
after
that's
the
possible. Yes,
Another one?
you can harass Olivier. Here we have a question. Here we go.
Oh, thanks.
Talk there.
Oh, hi. Could you give us an example of like something that happened maybe in the past 10 months that you said like we tried to accomplish something and we couldn't because if this would have been so much easier if we didn't have to code, just for us that don't really have an image on how to utilize this in...
Yeah, so it's a good question. We had a few weeks ago discussion. Like I said, our CRM system is not as flexible as we'd like to be. And if we run a campaign, it takes a lot of time to put the campaign in the system. If you want to be fast, what we do is we do a download of our very GDPR-friendly way, a download of our contact database, and we do run a campaign based on an Excel spreadsheet. And then we enrich the Excel spreadsheet with data from the salespeople because they hate working in the CRM system, so we do a shadow CRM in Excel. So that was one of the things I said, can't we do something above Excel that would help us to do a bypass, very cheap and quick, of our CRM system. So that was an example. And I had a discussion with an analyst, and he asked me a lot of questions, and I give answers, and before I knew it was employer customers, and we spent a little bit of time with him, and we didn't get any benefit. So that was exactly the type of situation in which I don't like to be. I have a need. I want to be able to. Excel is really not good for this kind of to run a campaign. So could I do an app, create a quick app above Excel, and that's it. So that was an example.
I can give you this evening another example, but we need another speaker for that. So he will definitely go into a lot of the practical bits of doing this. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you very much, Olivier.
You're welcome.